Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you. So, have y'all ever heard this song? So that's for Elise by Beethoven, I believe. Now, this song is one that I used to like, but at the moment, not particularly fond of it. Specifically because there's a guy who lives a couple of doors down from where one of my tours starts. And it seems he decided he did not like our tour starting there. And rather than being an adult and coming and talking to us about it, he decided the proper response was to pull out a bullhorn and play it at us through the bullhorn whenever we dared to start our tour. Now, he's gotten better since I've decided to start my tour a couple doors further away from him, but at least once since I've done that, he still comes out to blast furly at us. Now, one of my friends, who is also a tour guide starting this tour, once actually took the time to ask him, like, what's wrong? Why are you so mad at us rather than the 17 other tours that do stops right in front of your apartment? And he explained it's because he thinks we are unnatural. So, at least according to one guy in Jackson Square in New Orleans, women's history is unnatural, because that's what the Bad Bitches Tour is. And the first stop doesn't even cover anything that would generally be considered racy. But he's not the only person that I've met in the French Quarter who owns a bullhorn and is not afraid to use it. There was a woman that was commonly referred to as Bullhorn Karen, who lived over by one of the most popular stops in the entire city. Like, I will admit, there have been nights there that I have counted more than 40 tours trying to squeeze into basically one city block. But most nights it's chaotic enough there, with like the tour guides trying to find enough room to be far enough away from each other, the drunk people just screaming at the top of their lungs, the people who think that this is a fun, woohoo tourist attraction rather than a, oh god, this is a horror show tourist attraction. But there used to be a woman that lived just a little bit up the street who would, on a regular basis, just come out and blast her bullhorn at the tour guides. And she specifically liked the siren part of the bullhorn, so you just suddenly hear right behind you. She only did it to me once, and she claimed I was parked too close to another tour guide because we legally have to be 50 feet away from each other. And I will admit, at this particular location, we usually aren't. Most tour guides that I know aim for about at least 20 feet, which is basically a city bus length from each other. But it's not at all uncommon for you to park in a location that is perfectly legal and have another tour guide come up and park between you and the other guide, so suddenly you're both like 10 feet from each other. But we do what we can, and we try to make room for each other, and other than a few complete assholes, we try not to step on each other's feet. But this lady came up and accused me of standing too close to one of the other tour guides, and I look up and I'm like, actually, no. Like, 50 feet is generally agreed to be about 4 car lengths, and I am 4.5 car lengths from the other person. You can count by the parallel parked people across the street from me. But she's blasting this bullhorn in my face while filming me on her phone, going, I'm going to report you to the police. I'm going to turn you in. And I'm like, fine. I'm not breaking any laws right now. You are. But, of course, she doesn't listen to me because I'm one little tour guide. But from what I understand, I was not there for this night, and I'm so sad about it. But one of my friends reported that a couple of nights later, she was out there doing the same thing to one of the other tour guides and screaming about how she was going to call the cops on all of them. And one of her neighbors stepped out of the house to say, yeah, we're going to call the cops too. On you. They're not disturbing the peace. You are. But that being said, I do understand that the tours can be a bit annoying. I do find it annoying when people move in there and then complain about the tours. I'm like, honey, you knew this was part of the deal of moving into the French Quarter. But the people who have lived here all their lives, I try my best to make way for them. It's not their fault that the French Quarter became one of the most touristy locations in the South. But so I try to move out of the way if they're being annoyed. I try to be polite, but I do request that you just come out and tell me. Maybe stick your head out the window and be like, hey, could you move? Don't blast a bullhorn at me in the middle of my story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for listening.